Hello, I'm Suzanne Smith, and my company is Relatable Entertainment. I have been in the entertainment and film industry for 16 years. I started out as an extra, and I went on to film school, and then it just went on from there. I love doing all phases of film and entertainment because I enjoy the parts of making a great story. So I'm currently casting an auditions director and then extras coordinator for The Sleepover with director Nelson Robertson, producer Ashley Michelle Card, and assistant director Julianne Campbell. And I absolutely love discovering this new talent. So I hope that you enjoyed this little interview we've had. I've had so much fun talking to Peter. It is Peter, right?
Oh, yes, it is. It is. Peter.
I just messed it up. It's so much. Okay.
So when it's all said and done, what's your goal? Like, what's your plan? Like, where do you want to be, 5-10 years from now in the industry?
Well, I have more confidence now, and so I do want to be a producer director. I will say that my productions will probably never be expensive. They'll probably be small, independent things, because I do have a plan. Did you know those 130 countries, if you send your short 10-minute film to 130 people in each of those, or one person in each of those 130 countries, they're going to show that film to 5 or 10 people or 20 or 200.
Mm-hmm. Rule of 10. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that's for my films. For my scripts, I do believe they are going to be popular eventually, because I do have some quite interesting scripts that nobody has talked about yet. I do the controversial. I will promote. Can I promote one to give an example?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The one that I'm promoting that is the least controversial right now is Ambergris. It's Ambergris. It's with Jonah and the Whale. Nobody has done an R-rated movie of Jonah and the Whale. And Jonah and the Whale, I studied what actually happens inside the whale. Now, somebody might copy this now, but you know what? I don't care. Let it get done.
Right.
But anyway, I studied actually what happens inside the whale. Amazing, cool things. And then I contrasted him because he was an ornery, arrogant, religious person, like we all know many of. I contrasted him with a cute little Christ-like prophet,
Okay.
who went around the story, told stories around the country, telling stories, being sweet, nice, and God is love, and all that. And so this film script is quite a wonderful script. So that's the type of stuff I do where it is pretty controversial, because people. My first Christian friend read it, and she was going, "Oh, you had Jonah drinking, and he was hanging out with prostitutes." How dare you? Oh, that's awful. Yeah. Well, guess what? I hate to say it, but that's what they did in those days.
That's right.
And
nowadays. Absolutely.
So anyway, that's the type of stuff I write where, I like reality. I think reality needs to be told a lot more than fantasy, and it can still be just as amazing, as we all know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, what do you think about the current state of Hollywood and the films that they're releasing?
Oh, I'll tell you what on that. I always have an opinion.
Okay.
So amazing what is happening in Hollywood. If you notice with these actors and actresses at the last Oscars that they showed in January or February or March, or whenever they extended April in 2021, it's a whole new group of people. And they're not as arrogant. A lot of them aren't arrogant at all. They're very humble. Mm-hmm. They're grateful for what they are doing. They're grateful to be given the opportunity and their diversity and the old guard. And that's one of the reasons, even in Hollywood and in business and in politics, the baby boomers are out
Yeah.
and the young people are in,
Yeah.
and the old guard is trying to fight it. But for 16 years, I am seeing the most amazing young people. And now they're in their 40s and they're hardworking. They are disciplined. They are compassionate. They have their charities that they care about. They don't care about as money as much as they do the craft,
Yeah.
and the vision. And that's the new Hollywood. And we are seeing it now in Atlanta and Albuquerque and the TV shows. We are seeing an amazing new change. It really is. I tell people like a renaissance. It's like the renaissance of the dark ages. And then you had this splurge of all these amazing things happening. That's what's happening. And some of the old people, they like it, but tough. That's just the way it is. We got the young people taking over now.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's your advice for people who want to be screenwriters?
The best advice is to I do a lot of weird things with my eyes, so I apologize.
No problem. Yeah, no problem.
The best advice for screenwriting, I would say, is get Celtex. The Celtex is one, or Final Cut Pro or something like that. If you can get the software, because I did tap it out for 10 years on my little computer. I tapped out the stuff, and Celtex is the best one for the lowest price. Is like maybe $150 a year.
Okay.
And so you pay for it. So all you have to do is automatically, it will put, you just click actor or character, and then it automatically put the person's name in, put the line in the right place, all that type of stuff.
Oh, wow.
So the software will save you a ton of trouble. And Celtex is CELTX, I believe. And then I would just say, try to get on the screenwriting groups and try to just study and research and start doing it. And the reason I got in screenwriting originally is because I went to Austin Screenwriters, and we were all sitting in our little group, and they were reading their first page, and I was dying of boredom,
Yeah.
because they want to do the same thing, and they want to have the same, like I said, superficial details and all that. Do not do that. You research your story, even if it happened to you and you know it. You research the right kind of cars in that era, the right kind of houses, and you put those little details in, and it'll make it really good. But there is the 3-act. The 3-act format is the basic one, especially for beginners. It's where the first 30 pages you're building up and introducing the characters. Next 30 pages is the climax, gets really hot, and the plot, and hot and heavy, and murder and all that. And then the last 30 pages you start going down, and finishing up.
Okay.
So, you just study and research, and you can do it. Everybody's got a story. And 10-minute shorts, there are competitions all over, film festivals all over the country, and they have a short division. And you can do a 10-minute, and a good one is probably 4 weeks. It seems like it wouldn't be, but 4 weeks or 4 weekends, a 10-minute short, and you can start winning awards, So if you got a story, just take a section of the story, 1 or 2 locations, and start doing it, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, okay. Well, what made you become a casting director?
Okay. So I moved to Atlanta after the virus got better for a while. It got better for a little bit in spring, and they were starting to open up and everything. Well, another broadcast for a local TV channel opened up, and they invited me to do a show. That's a whole nother story. We won't talk about it. So while I was working on that, I started Atlanta Christian Film Group.
Okay.
Because I am biblical and I'm kind of a Christian. I follow the Lord, but the Christian genre, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Christian genre.
No, I'm not.
It needs a lot of work.
Okay.
A whole lot of work.
Okay.
And I'm mainly mainstream. And I'm spiritual, not religious.
Okay.
But I am biblical. You know how Jesus caused trouble all the time
Yes,
with the religion?
Yeah.
Well, so I talk too much, so I don't know, cut me off anytime. Let me try to speed up. Anyway, there's a group of us that are trying to improve the Christian genre, to where we tell good stories and it's not sappy and it's not preachy and all that type stuff. So that's why I started the Christian Film Group, even though I'm not really religious, because they need somebody not religious.
That's right.
So out of that, a wonderful man, Nelson Robertson, wanted to do his first film. And he had never had any experience at all. And he basically hired all of us that appeared at the group.
Okay.
He hired us to start working on the first film. Well, they needed casting. That was one area I had done, because I did start out as an extra, as many people do, and I went through central casting in Hollywood. I was there for about 8 months, so I knew the process. Central casting is the number one extras casting in America, and so they have a very tight process. So for their extras, so I was very familiar with that. So I did not have the extras, the casting director credit. I had assistant credit, but I never had the director credit. So I wanted that.
Okay. All right.
And I wanted to train people. So anyway, I'm sorry I go into detail. I talk kind of slow sometimes, but
no. Well, look, you said you've been doing it over the 6 months now, and it's been a boot camp. But has it been fun? Like, have you gained a lot of knowledge? Have you had a lot? Has it been a blast?
It has been a blast, because I love finding young people who are talented. That is the reason that I feel I'm in the film industry, that it keeps opening up, because I have a way with young people and I encourage them and I mentor them. And I have no problem with nicely telling them how to straighten themselves up. And so, for instance, our very first actress was extremely talented that we hired for the set. She was by far the most talented person that submitted. And we had to fire her within a month, because she wouldn't show up at rehearsals. She would say, I worked on a Burger King commercial, so I know what I am doing. So I don't need to go to the rehearsals. If I have something, she came right out and said, I have something more important. I don't need to go to the rehearsals. Wow. And things like that. And so, but I love finding young people and launching them in what I call their destiny and their gifts and their talents, and helping them to do what they want to do,
Yeah.
When I was 18, I was offered a theater scholarship, and being from Southeast Texas, everybody laughed and said that was crazy. And then at 40, I got in Austin, Texas film industry by accident.
Okay.
So I tell the young people, I don't want you to wait till you're 40 to start doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Do you think you have an eye for talent?
Yes, I have it. I definitely have an eye for talent. Let me think I don't know quite how to put it. People who are gifted in entertainment have something quirky about them. Even if they try to act straight, they're doing something or creative. If they're very creative, and I can spot them like this, I can get the very creative kids really quick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, what are some of the other mistakes that people who are trying to get into the business as actors, what are some of the other mistakes that people are making these days?
The biggest one is the one everybody hears about, is that they think it's going to be fun and they think it's going to be glamorous and they think you're going to make meet big stars.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't realize how much work it is and a thousand details.
Yeah.
So we have people that are obviously talented, obviously beautiful, who will submit their information. They say, you put out a casting call and I want to be your next wonderful actress.
Okay.
They don't have a resume. They don't have good pics. They don't have anything, and then I say, we ask for someone who can play a 17-year-old and you look like you could be in your 30s. And they go, oh, I can definitely play a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
That's one of the big ones. I have had a lot, especially with the women. They obviously look like a certain age and they're trying to play 20 years younger or whatever. So I've had a lot.
Yeah. Well, as far as typecasting goes, do you find that certain people fit certain roles based on how they look?
I would say that typecasting is getting a lot less than it was 16 years ago or 10 years ago, because we used to think that the beautiful women or the good-looking guy would be that typecast in that certain way. And thank you, Jesus, the roles are getting richer and people are putting more details in it. So typecasting isn't happening as often as it needs.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So, you do have to pay your dues and you got to work free. And there's a lot of debates on that. It's like, we're not going to work free. We're really good at the camera, But if you don't know the industry and you don't know set protocol and all that, directors cannot afford to train you. So how you train is on those little independent films. And so that's what I did. I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed being around the young people. And so I would train on the film sets. I would work for free on independent film. And I got paid a lot also. Well, not a lot because I started out at 40. But anyway.
Well, you seem to have the right attitude. And I'm with you that I think people need to put in work to get better, to hone their skills. And I'm wondering, like, why people are not necessarily approaching it that way. Like, why we kind of have to coach them into it and kind of teach them. Is it just because they don't know or no one has told them? Why do you think that is?
I will say I have traveled quite a bit now in the last 5 years around America for film and entertainment, working on independent projects. And I would say in rural America, and even in the big cities, people are not taught the details of anything. They're only taught innuendos and general superficial stuff. And so that's all they hear is, oh, my brother-in-law was an extra and he worked with 3 people and he had fun. It was a cool job. The brother-in-law didn't say I was bored the hell out of my mind and I had to sit for 4 hours and it was 105-degree weather.
Yeah.
The fun stuff,
Yeah.
And so people just don't hear it. But the film schools in Atlanta, especially, they're in Albuquerque, they're starting on film classes and things like that all over the country. It's so exciting because we have over 130 countries, almost approaching 150, maybe over by now, that they're getting the internet. Even in the worst countries, the most poor countries, they're getting the internet. They're wanting movies. They're wanting TV shows. And so that's another thing. There's such a stereotype of musicians and entertainers and podcasters is like, oh, they're just goofing off,
Right. Yeah, that's not the truth.
It's just a hobby. It's not a lot of work. This is like a huge frontier.
That's right.
of over 150 countries are opening up for entertainment.
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right. Do you
So
recommend actors take classes to improve their skills as well?
I took 2 semesters, so that was a year's worth. And I would say you do not have to get your degree, but it would be better to go ahead and take a few classes. Um, because for one thing, you can specialize in those classes. If you're interested in camera, you can take camera. If you're interested, I was interested in pre-production. So I did do casting and auditions, and I did art department and things like that. So you can find what your specialty that you like the most, and you do get a lot of really great information.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, what is it about filmmaking that draws you to it? Like, what's the excitement about it for you?
Everybody, even in COVID, even in the recession, when I started 16 years ago, everybody watches movies. They love movies. There are ways to plant seeds of your wisdom, your agenda, your philosophy, in any good movie. And mine is don't listen to people that try to hurt you. Even if you're a 10-year-old or a 5-year-old, and you know in your heart that something's going not right. And I tell the kids this. If I do speeches or something like that, this is why I get in trouble sometimes. If I talk to a school or whatever, I'll tell them, maybe on the outside you have to follow those rules. On the inside, know your dreams. Know and listen to that gut feeling. And you listen to sound, wise advice. Well, that's what you can do in films. That's why so many kids, it does inspire them. The Marvel movies, Spider-Man, shows like that, they're a little dorky person. And they say, maybe I can't jump from building to building, but maybe I can be a newspaper reporter like Peter was, or whatever. So it's such an inspirational genre, well, not genre, but field, I guess, or industry. It's such an inspiration. Just billions and billions have been affected by their favorite music, TV, and film shows.
Yeah. So which genre of movie inspires you? Like, are you a drama person? Or are you a comedy person? Sci-fi?
I grew up in Southeast Texas, and this is I'm actually writing a book about this on the first time I saw a Vogue magazine, I thought I died and gone to heaven, because I hated Green Acres. I hated Gilligan's Island. And then Star Trek came on and I was like, there's life outside of Southeast Texas.
Yeah.
So I love that. And so my scripts that I do are actually ancient action adventures. How, I guess like Indiana Jones, it's I study archaeology and science and the universe and pre-Adam and all that type stuff. And I love watching that. Even as I was traveling across the country, I look at the landscape because they're finding out so much about these hills are either Native American mounds or Indian mounds, or they could be like ancient volcanoes and things like that. And that's so right. There's so much cool stuff you can do with science fiction. Yeah. So that's what I like.
Okay.
But action adventure, whatever. I had 3 brothers. So
okay.
I grew up around action adventure,
Yeah. What you were talking about, like, script writing is really your thing. How do you develop characters, especially, and I'm talking about more specifically characters who are not like you? So you're from Southeast Texas, but how would you write like a woman from New York or California or a man from Oregon? How do you go about that process?
Well, I will tell you, I was a little troublemaker to a certain extent. But I was a little brainwashed. You get the therapists call it socialized into your culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I was socialized before, and actually with the divorce and the psychopath ex, I have identity with pain. It really is true. When you suffer and you go through pain and you're starving and you're hungry, that helps. But also my associate degree was double major in journalism. So I research, and I'm a writer in journalism, and then psychology. So especially in the ancient characters that I'm doing, people don't dwell quite enough. They don't get quite enough into the psychology of what makes that person happen, And I actually have a lot of attention on my scripts right now. And I really believe I am going to become successful in that. The problem that I have a problem with is mine start at $50 million.
Oh, okay.
Start. You would have to have $50 million because that's what an epic adventure does.
Yeah.
And so I try to write these little Hallmark movies, and they're amazing. I was watching those with my friend, but I can't write those type. But you have to get into the detail of the psychology of their family and their upbringing and the town around them and what makes them act the way they do. And if you do that, then you have a really cool script.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about it that way. So when you're developing a script, do you have a beginning and an end, and then you just kind of fill in the middle, or you just start from the beginning and let things flow? How do you do that?
Okay. I hate to tell you this, but it's the philosophy of how I live. I have to say it.
Okay.
I hate religion now. I hate the rules and I hate the regulations.
Okay.
But I'm a prayer person.
Okay.
And I ask the Holy Spirit. I say, Holy Spirit, give me an idea.
Okay.
And it happened on 3 scripts. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe people that don't follow anything with that have the same experience. I don't know. I have the entire plot in less than 30 seconds.
Okay.
It just,
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I would say on the ones that did not happen is research. You just start really, like if you want to do a cowboy in Timbuktu, you start looking up Timbuktu and the history and the cowboy and the animals and the plants and all that. You have to do a lot of research. That's why one thing I would like to get hired more, as a researcher for films, but it's very difficult. A lot of times they're like going, and so I catch so many wrong facts in movies and films because I do research so much. I'll go like, well, for Monk, have you ever seen or heard about the detective show Monk?
Yeah, I think my mother used to watch that. Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay, well, the very first time they mentioned his diagnosis, they said he's bipolar because at that time, bipolar is the big thing. He was obsessive compulsive from the very first thing, but somebody did not do the research. They just threw it out. On one show I was watching, they said the 10 Commandments, and they said, the 8th commandment will say is, honor the Sabbath. There wasn't no 8th commandment.
Right.
And so there's stuff like that, but really, I would love to do research. That's because you can find so many amazing things, and that's how you get the scripts, the little details that make. And so I'm not an award winner, except for that one. It's gonna happen because my scripts are good. People cry over my scripts. Industry people cry over my scripts, but they say, "Well, we don't have $50 million." So one of these days I'm gonna do a cheap script.
Okay. Well, since you have such a dynamic background, are you able to watch a movie now without critiquing like you did with Monk? Like, are you able to just kind of watch it as a fan?
I'm going, oh, they're having so much fun behind the scenes doing that. That's what, yeah. It's really hard to watch a movie. Why on everything else, even the journalism, the doors did not open like that. Bam, open, like it did for film. You know why? Because that was my destiny. Whatever
Yeah.
your destiny is, whether it's working, making money, cleaning a hotel and being a friend to all the other ladies cleaning the hotel, whatever your destiny is, the doors will open if you go through them.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. Well, it seems like when did you know that was your destiny? Or did you know it immediately, or did it take a while for you to kind of look back and go like, no, this is where I belong?
When I think it was a gradual thing, because I was so brainwashed in that you're a different, unusual, weird thinking person that you're not worth hardly anything. You know, I was trained in that. And because I had taken psychology on one level, I fought that. And on one level, I was confident and all this. But on the other level, deep in my heart, I still felt like that failure or whatever. But then just time after time after time after time. You know, if my daughter hadn't had, it was not cancer, she's fine today. I'd had that abnormal tumor and I had not dropped out of A&M, I would have done a different field.
That's
you know,
right. Mm-hmm.
Because she had that tumor and I had to drop out of A&M for several years and all that, I got into film. And so gradually, as all these coincidences, just one coincidence and one person I helped and one person I mentored on the set or encouraged them or whatever after another, then I'm gradually like going, wow, you know. And then I figured I was in theater in high school and my teacher offered me a scholarship and I blew it because I was like, acting? No way. You know, I was their comedy actor. And people laughed, and they laughed because I was funny, but I would think they were laughing because I was ugly and funny looking and all that type of stuff. And so I just began putting the pieces together, because when you do what you're supposed to do, then your confidence rises too. And there's healing in your heart.
That's right. That's right.
You know? So your heart begins to heal as you find something that you're good at.
Yeah,
you know, and
I believe that.
You see the changes. You see the changes and things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, we talked about some advice for actors or some things that actors need to do. Do you have any advice for people who are writing scripts?
Oh, wait. Let me tell you about what the actors need to do.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I didn't do that enough. The actors need to act like this is a professional job.
Absolutely.
There are samples on the internet that says actor's resume. An actor's resume is a specific thing. I don't care if you were in 6th grade choir playing a tree play, you know, then you put on there the actor's resume has a certain format and it's very easy to look up. You put every singing you did, dancing classes, all that. The actor's resume will do that. You respond to emails and phone calls on a timely manner. You know, if you want to be an actor, I have a stripper that keeps sending me her stripper pictures and stuff. For every role, she'll send in her sexy stripper pictures. You know, there are samples on the internet on how to do a good headshot. My headshots on the internet look really well.